2 days ago, I was doing a story time for a woman that was detailing her relationship that had reproductive abuse, financial abuse. And she got a lot of feedback and she was reading the comments and she did a follow up. I'm going to read this, but I do want people to know that the ladies that are sharing these stories with me are doing so knowing and understanding that they have made mistakes. They don't necessarily need you calling them any variation of dumb or stupid. Please know and understand that they have called themselves worse names, and they don't necessarily need you to do that as well, especially if they've already been through or are living in an abusive environment. They're getting all of that too. So just keep that in mind as you listen to some of these story times, that these are real women that are sharing their stories with me. Okay, here's what she says. She says, "Hello, I appreciate you sharing my story and link. I appreciate all of the kind words and support and the harsh ones too. I don't mind reality checks. I'm mentally kicking my own behind about how many times I could have ended this horror show before the baby was conceived. Before I provide an update, I think I need to make a few things clear without giving too much personal details away. I only spoke on the negative aspects of our relationship because that is the heaviest and what is weighing on me. I didn't touch on the good times and how its insidious nature lured me in, snuck up on me, and caused me to drop my guard and have me wishing things could go back to the way they were. We met in my mid-20s. He's 9 years older than me, and we were platonic friends for 1.5 years. Please know and understand, this is me speaking, that this is one of the reasons why I really dislike big age gaps when the woman is the younger party, because this type of thing could happen, and I've seen so many horror stories." She says, "During our friendship, he was cool, fun, and everything was lighthearted. Because we were just friends, sometimes we would be out of contact for a few weeks or a month or so, but when we reconnected, everything was fine. We would bust it up on the phone for a while. He invited me to hang out with his other friends, and it was overall a good time. He was charming and everyone was cool with him. After the 1.5 years, he was going through something personal and was stressed around this time. As a friend, I supported him and was that listening ear and words of encouragement. And he also confessed that he has liked me for a while around that time. He told me I was kind, supportive, and loved my personality. I told him I didn't see us like that, and I think it would ruin our friendship. He promised it wouldn't and constantly wanted to hang out during this time period. Eventually, I reluctantly agreed, and it felt awkward kissing him at first. Him being the charmer that he was or is showed me a different side of him romance-wise, and I fell for him shortly after. There were issues, but nowhere near what I've experienced after marriage. After the excitement of a new relationship, I began to notice some things about him that I wasn't too keen about. Whenever I brought them up, he stated he felt judged and that it hurts that he can't be himself and that he's always been accepting of me for who I am. So I felt like I was being judgmental and like maybe I was the issue, not him. He confided in me more naturally as his girlfriend, and I learned more about his past. Like he had a tough childhood. He developed CPTSD in his early 20s from losing a lot of his childhood friends from pew-pew violence when they got older. He had a therapist. He did stop seeing them and started to drink heavily and smoke a lot of weed. This is while we were dating, so I was about to be out. I didn't smoke, and I don't like heavy drinkers. He got those under control and drastically slowed down and even stopped at one point. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was progressing. He asked me to spend the rest of our lives together after 1.5 years of dating, so that's 3 years total I knew him. I was happy, but expressed concerns about our differences, like our spiritual beliefs, similar values, etc. He comforted me and said relationships where people are the same are boring, but the fact that we're different and love each other will help give us more insight and understanding. We got married. Things got progressively worse." She says, "Before I dated him, I always used to be the couldn't be me type of girl and would cut a dude off if he wasn't it for way less than what I endured from my husband. This relationship did something to me. I feel so out of place with myself. I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I remembered my friend. His apologies seemed genuine. He still supported what I wanted to accomplish, even when he was mad at me in the beginning. Around when I first left, things reached a level of craziness I hadn't seen before with the physical assault, the harsh words. But he begged and pleaded and said we took vows. I remembered my friend again and hoped it could go back to the way it was so we could move forward. I was a fool. I felt guilty for wanting to leave because he named everything he did in a plea full manner for me and my oldest, only child at the time, and made it seem like I was abandoning him. He would recall events incorrectly sometimes. I just thought if he could see things from my perspective and be understanding to me like I was always to him, then we'd be good. But he didn't. He was always the victim somehow. I started to think I was tripping. I became fearful and walked on eggshells just to keep the peace and to keep a peaceful home, although it wasn't one. He started to wear me down when I didn't abide by his wishes like the credit and savings, etc. I was mentally spent. Shortly, I turned into the woman I swore I couldn't be. I was too tired to put up a fight. Everything seemed to be a fight. I just wanted peace. However, now I have no more love, no more benefit of doubt. His eyes morphed from loving and passion for me to hate, disdain, disgust, while simultaneously telling me I'm a good woman. I realize my mistakes now. I was too busy remembering who he was to me, my friend, and giving him grace versus acknowledging who he presently was or is to me. Even now, he's telling me what he brought the baby and making small talk, but I'm completely checked out and waiting on my break. To clear some things up based on some of the questions or remarks I've seen in the comments, I don't believe in terminating pregnancies for myself, but I don't judge others for what they believe in. That would be hard on me emotionally. I'd rather not get pregnant and maintain that versus ending my pregnancy. I also was stressed around this time period and found out at 11 and a half weeks. Before I emailed Berb, I called the DV hotline and explained the situation to the rep, how he hit me 2 years ago, how I left and came back, how he presently recommended I quit and only work part-time, and as soon as I did, he started verbally abusing me, threatened to kick me out, and now I'm on the edge and need shelter options and help because I'm not stable here and don't trust him. The rep says it sounds like a boundary issue instead of a DV one because the hit itself was so long ago. She literally said he's having issues honoring your boundaries, but this is a shelter concern versus her marking this under DV. She gave me the number to a shelter in my city. I called the shelter and they said I should call the DV hotline. I told her I did, and that's where I got her number from. And she said, oh, then call the city for intake, and hung up. I read reviews of shelters in my city, and most of them had wait lists and said there are curfews and only semi-private rooms, meaning other people had access to your belongings. A lot of people also mentioned staff stealing their property too, and the living quarters being dirty and roach infested. That's why I originally stated I didn't want my oldest to be traumatized, moving out of her own room, property potentially being stolen, and it being roach infested. I know where I am and traumatizing in its own way. The other shelter I just called put me on a wait list and said my oldest was too old for their program to come, but when they called me in that my baby could come. Although I don't want to go, that option was never off the table. If they had the space, I would have went. There are different rules for different shelters, and some have curfews. I don't know how they would work with my work schedule and kids. Most of the time, it was a long hold or giving me someone else's number. Even the people I spoke to seemed to be in a rush to get off the phone or to pass the buck to the next organization. I still don't know how it works. Not all are the same. Today I went to City Hall for intake. I arrived at 8:45 a.m., was seen at 11:30 a.m. I was informed that there is no room currently, but they gave me a piece of paper with the number and said was told to call them every single night and leave a voicemail with the requested information on the paper included, a callback number, and by doing so, they will call me when they have long-term shelter for me. The only emergency one is a first come, first serve, and you have to be lined up every night for it. One night they could have space. The next night, if too many people get in line before you, you could be denied entry because they reached their cutoff. I explained my class schedule of 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. A few nights per week, and I was informed that people start lining up by 7 p.m., and the shelter doesn't make exceptions in the emergency facilities. The caseworker told me the wait for a long term shelter could be weeks or months, and that she had to be honest, it's not a fast process. I'm going to call and leave the voicemail every night, though, so I'm in compliance, and hopefully it doesn't take that long. If something else comes sooner, then I'm out of here then. The lady from intake gave me the number for the local DV line, not the national one that I called. I didn't know that there was a difference. And she said they should be of more help. I'm going to call them tonight when I'm on my way to class. My medical program is part time, so there's only a limited time of federal aid and the loan that I qualified due to my part time status per semester and not being full time. I received both the grant and the loan, and I still owe a balance. The balance I have to pay cash because no private school lenders will give me anything due to my crappy credit. P.S. I'm $20,000 in the hole because of him, not $2,000 like the original video stated. It did say $20,000. I may have misspoke, but she says $20,000. She wants y'all to. The program was very vigorous to get into. I cannot stop and simply start back up again. I would have to take at least 2 prereqs again to even qualify, and they still could deny me re-entry. I will follow up with my school about resources concerning this type of matter. Thanks for whoever recommended it. It was a great idea. I hadn't even thought about it. I just can't leave my baby. I know I didn't want another child, but now that the baby is here, I love and adore my baby. If he was rational and the relationship simply outgrew its course, I absolutely would drop the baby off and come back for my baby in 3 years. However, if something ever happened to my baby, I would not be able to live with myself. They're both my priorities. I appreciate the thoughts and feedback. If you have any more helpful suggestions, please advise. I'm done being an idiot and emotionally tied to what was. That part of me died. I'm focusing on securing a healthy and peaceful present and future for my children and I. Thanks. So you hear how she said things about herself at the end and the beginning of this. She's being self-deprecating because she knows that she missed signs. And I just want to highlight that because some people jump into my comment section and are so harsh because you just cannot see yourself falling for some of these things. Some manipulative people can reel you in, and then once they have you in a vulnerable situation, beat you down with that control, with that financial abuse. And some of you lack grace. And it's so sad because these people, you see how many things she had already done before she even contacted me. And some people can be so cruel, like, how dare you be stupid enough to be reeled in and duped? That's how some of you come across. And it hurts my heart to hear her say these types of things because I know she's beating herself up. And I know she's getting that verbal beat down from him as well. She doesn't need women in our spaces to tell her any more about herself. Anyways, I appreciate when women share their stories with me. I'm glad that they trust me to share their stories with me. But for the people that are in the comment section, if you can't offer advice without the you should have done this, you should have done that, that's not helpful. We need stuff going forward and how she can improve things, not more verbal beatdowns for the things that she did do. She already knows what she did wrong. She knows where she could have zigged, where she could have zagged. This going forward should be a cautionary tale for the next lady, but also, do you have any advice for the present going forward for this woman? Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.